chase or fade, guys, is what we're going to do here. The four guys who are the highest price on this slate. You got Joker, you got Luka, Joel Embiid, Greek Freak, all within $1,000 of each other. So chase or fade, chase one and fade one here, Garion. Let's start that way.
Yeah, so I'll chase Giannis. I just think that game has the potential, especially with LeBron back and AD back playing as well as they played in that last game. It just has the potential to be a close script. And, we know every Bucks game is an up-tempo script. So Giannis just has the potential here, I think, to really hit his ceiling. And we know his ceiling can be massive. I mean, this is someone who across his last 13 games is averaging 1.7 DraftKings points per minute. I would also say that I'm leaning more towards the Giannis-Luka end of this just because I like Anthony Davis as much as I do in this particular spot, and I think he's the number one option at center, more so than Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic on a per-dollar basis tonight.
Nick, who are you chasing, who are you fading?
I'm chasing Giannis as well. I'm not fading Embiid. I simply refuse to do that at this point. But, I mean, Giannis went for 47 last time they played this Lakers team, and the Lakers should be able to keep this one, I think, competitive enough that we're seeing Giannis, play 32 to 35 minutes. I don't think this is a complete route for the Bucks, and it's so tough to fade any of these guys. I guess I would fade Doncic, gun to my head. He's playing Detroit. Maybe Dallas gets out to a big lead, and he's, is limited a little bit in the second half, but I mean, you're really going to be hard-pressed to build a case for why you absolutely can't put one of these four guys in your lineup.
Jules, your turn. It's your turn,
pal. Let's make it 3 for 3, chasing Giannis. He's the cheapest of the three, which is also nice. I think we should have a good pace in that Lakers game. He scored 66 last time he faced the Lakers, 66 DraftKings points. And I'm going to fade Jokic. He's the most expensive of the bunch, slower pace. Got a matchup against Mitchell Robinson. He only scored 54 DraftKings points in 26 minutes last time he faced the Knicks, which isn't nearly enough if you're paying 12-6.
I mentioned it before, guys. Other than someone like, say, Şengün for Chicago, all the value tonight, it seems now, is going to come from New Orleans and Portland. Are you going to look elsewhere, Nick, or are you going to one of those two teams?
No, I am absolutely going to one of those two teams. I mean, you can kind of take your pick now of a lot of the depth pieces. I mean, if you're looking at New Orleans, even someone like a Brandon Ingram, certainly not value play, but taking on more responsibility, you would think, with Josh Hart unavailable. I think it'll be interesting to see if Jackson Hayes, who I believe is at 5,500 tonight, comes back into the starting lineup. They went with that bigger lineup with he and Valanciunas, with Hart missing some time recently. I think he's a really attractive option tonight, and if you're talking season-long fantasy too, a guy maybe you want to grab ahead of the deadline. So Hayes, someone like Jose Alvarado, Garrett Temple if he plays tonight, Herb Jones, value all over the place for New Orleans.
I mentioned Şengün for Chicago. I don't know why. Houston, Jules, you're up.
Not getting, whoa. We're in the same place.
Giving it away now.
Not getting fancy here with the value. You're going to these two teams, especially in cash games. Jose Alvarado, like Nick mentioned, especially with Alexander Walker being kind of a late include in that trade. So Alvarado on the Pelicans side, on the Portland side, already no Norm Powell and no Covington getting out of there. And now CJ, I'll look at Ben McLemore to get some pretty big volume, get some shots up there for Portland against Orlando, which gives you a nice matchup.
Yeah, Justice Winslow, Dennis Smith Jr., these guys basically right at the minimum here, Garion.
Yeah, I think McLemore is probably the safest name on Portland from a value perspective, just because he's probably going to play like 35 minutes tonight. I would say somewhere between like 12 to 15 field goal attempts, most of those coming from three. So the upside is pretty high there. I will say this might open up an opportunity where some of the ownership potential is taken away from someone like Cam Thomas, who yesterday I figured would just be one of the most popular value plays on the slate, considering what he's done the past two games, where Brooklyn's been in sort of a one-star offensive situation. It kind of seems like Harden's trending towards playing tonight, but with no Kyrie Irving, I don't think Thomas is going to lead the team in usage like he has the last two games with James Harden back in the mix, but he's averaged 1.22 DraftKings points per minute in that two-game span, kind of being the second fiddle on that team. And they're still just down to one star tonight if it is James Harden. So I think Thomas is in a nice spot, and maybe some of that popularity is alleviated by all this value being opened up by this trade.
Sixers, guys, favored by just a point at home against the Suns, minus 115 on the money line as well. Chase or fade Philadelphia is a good bet, Jules.
I will. It's probably a stay away game for me, but I'll chase it. If you made me bet it, I'd bet Philly because you have the Suns on the second night of that road back-to-back. They were up big in that game, and Chicago came back and made it a 3-point game and actually covered. Bad beat if you took Phoenix in that one. The way I would probably bet this one, the Sixers, good first quarter, good first half team at home. So I might look at Philly on the first quarter line, coming out strong with Embiid, and the Suns, didn't have much momentum at the end of that game. Maybe they get started slow second night of a road back-to-back, but this is a tough game.
What do you say, Garion?
Yeah, I'll echo Jules. I don't really have a strong lean in this game, although I will say it's just tempting to take the Suns as an underdog. It just doesn't happen all that much. This is actually only the sixth time this season they are an underdog in a game. 3-2 ATS their past 5 games as an underdog. So I don't know. The Suns have been really good on the road. Yes, they are on the second night of a back-to-back, but I do think they're one of the few teams in the NBA, not that you can stop Embiid, but they have a lot of size. I think they can use that to their advantage. Obviously, they have elite guard play, too, on both ends of the court. I'll take the Suns, but yeah, it's not something I'm really looking forward to betting.
Nick?
I'm with Julian. I think this is probably a stay away. If I had to pick, I would probably go Philly. I think we've seen, Phoenix let Chicago back into that game multiple times, really. Last night, they got tripped up over the weekend by Atlanta. Still probably the best and most consistent team in the league, but they've also been playing Devin Booker and Chris Paul and McCall Bridges monster minutes, really for almost the last month at this point. Kind of due for a regression there, I think, at some point. I think this is a tough spot. Not only are they on the second half of a back-to-back, this is their third game in 4 nights. Kind of easy to see Phoenix maybe, getting tripped up and taking its foot off the gas a little bit tonight.
Bucks and Lakers, they're going to square off with an awfully high total here on this slate, guys. 232.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Los Angeles has hit the over at home pretty often, 17 and 12 in that category. Chase or fade that we're going to get another over tonight, Garion?
Yeah, they're actually, I believe, top 5 of the NBA in terms of percentage of overs hit. That's what happens when you've got good offensive players and don't play a lot of defense. So I just think that I will take the over here, although it's moved up. This total continues to get higher. But Bucks, up-tempo team, a team that is, sort of quietly struggled with their own defense this season. They have not been great defensively. So I'll go over for a lot of the same reasons why I think we all picked Giannis to just be the number 1 stud on tonight's slate. I just think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
Nick, over to you.
Yeah, I'll go the same way. I think the Lakers obviously defensively have been a mess. They've found ways to outscore teams in some games recently. And Milwaukee, they remain a team that when everybody is humming, they could put up 130 on just about anybody. But like Garion said, they've quietly slipped on the defensive end. This is not the team that was a lock to be a top 2 or 3 defense like it felt like they were from 2017 to 2020. That defense has slowly slipped over the last couple of seasons. And I think they're hovering around 10th on the year. But if you look at the last 5 games, the last 10 games, even the last 15 games, this is a bottom half of the league defense in terms of defensive rating. The Bucks play fast. It's a pace-up game for the Lakers. So maybe if this total keeps climbing, at some point I would back off. But as of now, I'm going over.
Jules, a big over. You want it?
Yeah, most likely. Lakers have gone over in 11 of their last 16. They got there on Saturday night against the Knicks, and the Bucks aren't afraid to play with pace. So, yeah, lean to the over in this one. But at some point, it's going to hit a limit where you can't bet it anymore.